Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 19th of June 2024. Now, yesterday's video, don't worry if you haven't seen it yet, but I featured a little segment of the event I was on recently. There was a few speakers in not the main arena, but in a kind of a side arena thing, and there was this lady talking, and she was talking about basically how she had received injuries from a certain thing that goes in there, and how she's been affected by not only sort of hatred on the kind of people who hate sort of anti-V people, but also people on our side who were calling her an idiot for getting the thing in the first place. And those sort of people are actually caught between a rock and a hard place. So I saw this speech of hers, and afterwards, as I was wandering around the event, I was just speaking to camera in a rather sort of thoughtful, speculative mood, sort of questioning myself as to whether I myself might have been subject to hatred, thoughts of hatred, anger, and all of that kind of thing, aimed perhaps at people like this lady. And I kind of did that. I think what I'll do is, you don't have to watch the whole video that I did yesterday, but I'm just going to take out the segments of her speech. It's not even her full speech, because she was talking about some other bits and pieces as well, but I'm just going to take out really what I thought was the most powerful bits for her speech, about 3 or 4 minutes of that, and then me for another 3 or 4 minutes, kind of with my sort of thoughts after, pretty much immediately after watching her talk. And I'll put that bit, those 2 bits, at the end of this video, so carry on and watch that. If you haven't seen it, the video I did yesterday, probably haven't actually, because it hasn't had that many views yet, and if you don't want to watch that video, you can watch this one instead. Just keep watching to the end. But one of the things she was saying was, when she was talking about this, and the lady in question is a lady called Carolyn Pover, and she's actually written a book about something to do with a survival guide for people who have been injured by that. So I'll see if I can put a quick screenshot of the book cover on here as I talk. And she was saying how she's been affected by sort of hatred. As I say, she's essentially been called an anti-V herself, even though she's had a couple of them and been injured by them, etc. So she's getting the hate from that side of things. And also, she kind of described it as a bewildered hurt. I think that was her phrase that she used, bewildered hurt, when she was sort of told by people, probably people like us, like me, sort of, well, you sort of deserved everything you got, kind of thing, for having the thing. Not that I've ever sort of actually said that, or even thought that people, that's not me. I'm sure you know that that's not me, that people would deserve to sort of be injured. No way at all. But that is apparently what she was getting from some people, at least. But I think she has been shocked by the level of hatred and anger that she has got from sort of our side of the equation, as it were. And what I'm going to do for the rest of this video is, or my sort of speaking to camera segment here at least, is to not justify it, but maybe offer a little bit of explanation as to people like her, as to where this hatred and this anger has come from. Like I say, hatred and anger's not justified. It's not really a justifiable thing, but you can perhaps explain it just to improve people's understanding of each other, really, where everybody's coming from. It's good that I understand where people like Carolyn's coming from, and but it's equally important that people like her understands where us lot are coming from as well. So what we have to do really is go back in time 2.5 years to the end of 2021, and this was when things were getting absolutely crazy, and people like me who hadn't had that and were in no way going to have that ever under any circumstances, no matter how much the persecution ramped up, we were looking at some really, really serious stuff. By that time, let's say mid-December 2021, a lot of people had already been forced out of their jobs because they weren't going to have it. You had a lot of employers saying, well, if you don't have it, you haven't got a job anymore, off you go. So they'd been hounded out of their jobs. We saw an entire group of people, sort of working professionals, who were hounded out of their jobs. The care home workers, they were sort of hounded out. I think the diktat came in about mid-November 2021 that anyone who worked in care homes who hadn't had the thing had to go, couldn't have their jobs anymore. And in fact, I know one lady who, personally, who fell right into that. She had to leave her job because she wasn't going to have that thing in the arm. Although it actually turned out better for her, because she's actually doing something now which is a lot better paid. So up yours, government, basically. But we were also looking at other things as well. The NHS people were looking at similar persecution, being hounded out of their jobs as well. And we had all of these celebrities, so many of them, everyone from sort of rock stars to TV personalities, to royalty, to politicians, very senior politicians, and so many others, all saying things like us unveed have got no place in society. If we fall ill or have an accident or anything like that, we shouldn't get any treatment from the NHS. And they were even talking about sort of fining people for not having it, which is actually something that did come in briefly in, definitely Austria. I think it might have been Germany as well. They were saying, well, basically, if you don't have the V, we're going to sort of fine you. We're going to fine you, whatever it was, £200 or £300 a month until you have it. And Johnson, the Prime Minister at the time here, actually was saying that at the end of 2021, is it time we have a national conversation about punishing or fining the unveed? I remember him saying that quite distinctly. And then we had the Plan B vote in Parliament mid-December 2021, where they kind of voted in this Plan B thing, which again was going to prevent us people from going into a lot of venues, and that would have been expanded. Had that come in and stayed in, that would have expanded out to, I know that just covered things like stadiums and theatres and cinemas, but that would have eventually worked its way into restaurants and sort of bars, pubs, shops and everything, and they were looking to exclude us from society. And some of the real nutters out there, sort of lurgy nutters, were actually sort of talking about sending in the police and the army to actually forcibly sort of put that into our arms as well. So it was an extremely frightening time. And Caroline said how she sort of felt bewildered hurt. Well, this is kind of how we felt. We were bewildered, we were hurt, we were sort of shocked, and we were very fearful. We were wondering what on earth we were going to do, to be honest with you, if things had really ramped up like all of these people in government and elsewhere wanted it to, because it looked like they really wanted to ramp it up to this extent. People like me, my wife Lorraine, and many, many other people who I know were looking at what on earth we were going to do. And I was sort of had visions of grabbing my sleeping bag, a tarpaulin or something, a backpack, and taking off to the hills or the woods or whatever, getting far away from here and hiding out for however many weeks, months, or even years that it would have taken, because that is what I would have done and many others would have done above having that. You know, there's no way we would have ever caved. And it was a deeply fearful time. And I think where the anger comes in, and yes, the hatred came in as well, and still exists actually, is the way we feel about it is if not so many people had sort of gone along for number one, number two, number three, number four, etc. If not so many people, let's say only 30% of people had even gone for the first one or the first couple, we would have been okay, because there would have been too many of us, and we would have been okay. But because it sort of looked like at the time that the vast majority of the population had gone for the things, it kind of left us in a vulnerable position, left us out on a limb a little bit. And that is, I think, why the politicians, the government and all the rest of them thought they were able to sort of talk about all of this sort of stuff, to come out with all of this sort of hate against us. And I think the only reason why we were able to kind of knock that back is, first of all, in the end, there was too many people refusing it, even the first couple. And then the more they kind of brought out, as we got to sort of number three, number four, less and less people were taking it. When you've got that situation, of course, you can hardly sort of persecute people who are anti-V, etc., because you've got a growing proportion of the population who are effectively anti-V. So luckily things went that way. They were sort of always going to be on that thing of ever diminishing returns, weren't they? Because the more things they brought in, the less likely people were going to be going for the latest iterations. But that's not how we saw it at the time. At the time, in late 2021, mid to late 2021, it was a very frightening time. We were sort of, saying things like, we've really been sold down the river here by the rest of the population, and now we're looking at a very, very serious situation potentially, and a very, very frightening one. So that is, hopefully, I've explained pretty well where this sort of anger and this hurt and this sort of even hatred comes from. It's because we were in a desperate situation, and luckily we managed to turn it around, or the situation turned around, and it didn't go as far as what we were fearing. The government was soon forced to roll back on the Plan B thing. Luckily, that was only in force for a couple of months. They then had to withdraw it, and then things kind of have subsided for now. Of course, I think the WHO are trying to bring in treaties and that sort of thing, so that if next time they deem a lurgy to be sort of knocking around, they can sort of take even more strict measures in the future, which is why we need to push back on the WHO, who personally I regard as nothing more than a band of criminals. Tough language, I realise, but that is what I see those people as. They're deeply corrupt. You only have to look at what they didn't quite push the actual treaty through, but they kind of got some kind of agreement through, and I'm hearing all sorts of things, weird things that enabled them to just get to that point. They had this vote when some of the delegates had actually left the building. They coerced other ones who were still there into voting the right way. So it's a completely ridiculous, corrupt vote, which got this thing in the first place. And that just shows you what kind of credible organisation works like that, does stuff like that. It's got this organisation, it's just not fit for purpose. They're just ridiculous, utterly corrupt. And I'm simply going to sit here and I'm going to state I will never, ever, ever obey any diktats that the WHO may ever bring in again. We sort of faced up to you and stood up against you and your tyranny one time, the first time around, and we're going to do it again if you ever try any nonsense again. But I don't think anything else they ever do will take off. There's more and more people who were fully on board with the thing the first time round, but I don't think that will be the case going forward. Anyway, going to leave it there. This is going to be quite a long video, especially as I've got those bits to tack on, so keep on watching for that. And I'm just going to say thank you. I've had a few people sending me generous donations. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. The way I sent some of these donations, I haven't really got any way of thanking the people apart from here. So if that was you, thank you very much. And it's all very much appreciated. It's not cheap going to these events and filming and getting all the gear that you need and all the rest of it. So any help with that is very much appreciated. Anyway, going to leave it there, but do carry on watching for Caroline's little talk and then my little kind of response to it coming up, and I'll be back soon. Tim from Fair Play Now. Thanks for watching.
Don't often ask why I had the injection. It's easier to assume that I was harassed or bullied into it, or that I spent lockdown believing everything I saw on the news, or that I have a complete disregard for humanity, or that I was, an idiot. I can tell you that I wasn't harassed or bullied, although I know many who were. I rarely watched TV even before 2020, and I stopped watching the news as soon as lockdown happened. I can also tell you that I'm not an idiot, although for many, many months following the 3rd of March 2021, I spent hours sobbing as I told myself that I was exactly that. My love for humanity was what led me into the centre that day. Do you still think I'm an idiot? The paramedics immediately said that I was having an adverse reaction, as did the staff in A&E. Nobody questioned it. And the vast majority of NHS staff I've seen during the past 3 and a bit years haven't questioned it either. On the whole, I've been treated kindly and with respect. Nobody's been able to do much, but kindness and respect go a long way to helping people heal. I know I've been lucky to have received that. This has not been the case for most injured. In the absence of practitioners within the NHS being able to do much to help us, or indeed anyone in pharmaceutical-based medicine being able to help, a separate entire industry of healthcare has emerged, claiming to have the cure. I have personally spent about £18,000 and I still haven't recovered. But I have found things that have helped me. And after 2.5 years of constant effort, last September, my symptoms became manageable. They haven't gone, but they are manageable now. Other members of the injured community have found their own ways of managing their symptoms, but we don't often get asked about them. Maybe people still think we're idiots. Few healthcare practitioners seem interested in sitting down with us and just asking what's working for us. When I have sat in despair at the people who wanted me to not talk about being injured, or sat in bewildered hurt at the people who said I deserve it all, I have reminded myself that most people want the world to be a better place. Most people who rolled up their sleeves did it because they wanted the world to be a better place. And most people who refused to roll up their sleeves did that because they wanted the world to be a better place too. Most people really do love humanity. But events of the past few years, and probably much longer than that, have led many into navigating the world from within a bubble of hate. People who talk about raising their vibration in one sentence, yet scornfully call others sheep and idiots in the next. This is not love for humanity. This is hatred. Maybe you have felt yourself a little too full of hate and looked at the world and the people within it from a position of judgment. Can we commit to not hate? Can we commit to creating our own bubble of joy? Can we commit to finding a better way?
Just been into, there's a big teepee thing here where a lot of the other videographers are in the main hall videoing the main speeches, but there's another, well, call it building, it's this thing behind me now, like a teepee thing, and there's some other speakers in there, so I've been more in there filming them. And there was a lady just now who gave a very, very powerful speech about she was injured by a particular thing. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, a very powerful talk. She was saying how they were caught between a rock and a hard place, basically. On the one hand, they had people in the freedom movement who were calling them stupid, silly, going along with the narrative, sort of sheep, all of the rest of it. And then, of course, on the other side of things, well, according to the mainstream and the government and everything, if you haven't had all of your boosters and everything, and you're fully up to date, and especially if you're speaking out about injuries, well, that makes you an anti-V now. So they get the flack from that end of things as well. So she was saying how difficult that is. Now, I like to think that on this channel, I've always been welcoming of both people who have had a certain thing and who haven't. You know, everybody's welcome on this channel. I have sort of probably been a little bit mean in the past. I've sort of called people sheep and sheeple and maskies, all that kind of thing. And especially considering the video I made yesterday, where I was saying how people were sort of brainwashed and couldn't really help the brainwashing. It's sort of, yeah, I must put my hands up and say, yeah, I've probably been a little bit mean in the past, and perhaps not the best thing I should have been doing, really.